Welcome to Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, back again with another episode, y'all. In the show today, I'm going to be talking about shedding your past, right? The last couple of weeks, I've run into a lot of guys that knew me back then, knew me when I was in rotation, when I was doing all the drug selling and the gang activities and all this and that. These guys are running up to me. They think that I'm still on that, right? And I'm having to tell them that I don't believe in that anymore, right? And they look at me, they give me that grin, like, yeah, right, Joe T. You know what I'm saying? And I can tell that they don't believe me, but I stand firm on what I say, and then they'll get to talking. And sometimes I gotta admit, this last week, I felt awkward in correcting some of the things that they talk about. They talk about the old days and the gang activities and things like that, right? And I'll find myself laughing along with them, but it's more of a nervous laughter as opposed to a laughter of, that was the business. And I thought that this would be an interesting thing to talk about, to share with you guys out there. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. Trying to shed your past is easy when you're not confronted with it. What do I mean by that? When you're not around people that knew you when you're not around those types of activities, like at this facility here, it's rare that you see people involved in drug transactions and fightings and all of that kind of stuff. It happens, but it's on a very, very, very low level. And I'm not privy to it. I don't participate in that, so I'm not around it. You can avoid it here. At other prisons, you really can't. It's next door. You smell it in the air all the time. It's going down, that kind of stuff at all times. So making that change, that transition here has been somewhat easier, I imagine, because I'm not having to face a lot of the things that I would have to deal with at other places. Not about somebody making me do anything, it's just about the environment. The environment. I used to be one of those individuals that would say, when you get out of prison, you don't have to leave the area that you're in. If you really believe in your change and you're rooted and grounded, you'll be okay. But now I think differently about that. I mean, sometimes, depending on the circumstances, you might have to leave so that you can give yourself time to become familiar with the new you, become familiar and wrap your arms around that new person that you are. Because in that environment, you can find yourself like me with that nervous laughter, not because I wanted or agreed with what they were saying. It was just because, I don't know, it was like I was pretending. And then I'm like, no, this ain't right. I can't be doing this. If I don't believe in it, say I don't believe in it. And I was like, what's the problem? I'm having a conversation with myself at this whole time, right? I'm like, well, what's the problem? Why won't you say it? Didn't say it. I came back the next day and they were having the same conversation. I said, look, we had enough of that yesterday. We need to be talking about something else. You know what I mean? And they looked at me like, dang, I guess you really are on that. I'm like, yeah, I really am on that. You know what I'm saying? And it was the weirdest feeling. But I felt good afterwards because I stood my ground in letting them know that I don't approve of that lifestyle and the conversations that come with it when you're glorifying it. If you're having a conversation about the lifestyle that's educating somebody to it or deterring them from their life, I'm with you. But if you're talking about it to glorify, no. Absolutely not with you. You know what I'm saying? And I had to realize that if I'm having this problem, other people might be experiencing the same thing. Trying to shed your past takes time. And it takes a lot of dedication and discipline to what you believe in. But you have to hold true to a few things. And let me tell you what a few of those are. You have to hold true that you're committed to the change. That it's not just something you're doing because of the environment that you find yourself in, or because you're afraid of something else more threatening, so you want to change up the way you're doing things. It cannot be for the moment. Your change cannot be for the moment. You have to be dedicated to it. You have to be dedicated to it. How do you become dedicated to your change? You become dedicated to your change through repetition. I tell myself, and I didn't realize I was doing this. But every day I tell myself that today is going to be a better day than yesterday, even if the day that I had today was great. I tell myself that the next day is going to be better. This day is going to be better, you know? And that has been helping me to affirm and reaffirm my commitment to that new me, that person that believes in goodness in everybody, that person that believes in accountability, that person that believes in, second chances, even for myself, that person that believes in forgiveness, even for myself and others. I reaffirm that every day. Something else that I do to reaffirm my change is that I give myself permission to mess up, but not to lay down in it. I'm not going to get it right all the time. And that's something that I think is unfair when it comes to people in prison. People expect us, if we don't get it right every day, I told you, you're not changed, you haven't changed. That is unfair to ask anybody to get it right every day. And if you slip up and you don't say the right thing or do the right thing or rebuff something that somebody else says, all of a sudden you're cast back into that life by other people. You're cast back as if you haven't made any strides. When you find yourself in a situation like that and somebody says that you're not changed, that you don't really believe what you're saying, you tell them that the devil is a lie. That the devil is a lie. Nobody knows what's in your heart but you and the Most High. And don't let nobody tell you that you haven't changed when you know that you have. Do you still have work to do? Do I still have work to do? Absolutely. But don't let anybody tell you that you haven't made progress. I know that I have, and I stand firm on that. Another thing that I do, I always tell myself that no matter what I'm going through today, no matter what lessons come my way, good or bad, that I'm going to embrace them. Embrace those lessons that come your way. They're going to be hard. And they're going to come in ways that don't appear to be lessons. They're going to come in ways that can seem hurtful. They're going to come in ways that are very, very subtle, challenging where you're at, Because again, keep in mind, your whole mindset has to change. Everything about you when you were living the life was wrong and corrupt, right? So that type of mindset, that person that you were, you have to have time, you have to give yourself time to transform, so to speak. You got to give yourself time to transform. So no matter how the lessons come, whatever's happening to you in your life, because you've made that commitment, that intention to do better, to be better, those lessons are going to come to you in ways that you're not going to be expecting. So embrace no matter what happens to you throughout your day. No matter what it is, embrace it and say, what am I supposed to learn from this? And if you get triggered, one more thing. If something happens to you in your life, in your daily walk, that triggers old thoughts, and you start to rationalize and try to make it make sense, I want you to take your time and take a deep breath and say, if what I'm thinking right now is going to cause harm to anybody else, including myself, then don't do it. Don't do it. See, one of the biggest things that you have to conclude when it comes to shedding your past is that you got to take your time. You got to take your time and realize that if you move too fast, that's all it takes, a split second, and you're back into something that can cause somebody some pain and cause you pain. So give yourself time, slow down, and when you find yourself in a situation like what I was in, dealing with people that knew me back then and knew me when, and were relishing in that, be the example to them. Be that courageous person that they need you to be, even if they don't realize. Be that lesson for them. Be that person that they can look to and say, if he can do it, so can I. Because that's what we're all looking for. Somebody that we can look to that has been through what we've been through and give us hope and give us some kind of inspiration to believe in ourselves. That's what we're all looking for. Just wanted to drop that on you. Just wanted to drop that on you, man, because, you know, going through the things that I go through on a daily basis, people think that I got it all together. And I like to think that I do in a lot of ways, but I'm also honest enough with myself to realize that, you know, I'm gonna have my days. And when I was around these guys the other day and I felt unsure of myself, that lesson that was washing over me was, you better find your footing, you better get it together, because this is all it takes for you to go backwards, you know? That's not an option for me, y'all. I hope it's not for you as well. Have a blessed day. This has been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and I say peace, y'all.